simultaneously shutting them off from the prospect of successfully participating in the economy outside of the prison. In other words, we're not doing anything to solve this problem, and I have an answer.
And I'm willing to bet it's not a three-word answer, is it?
It's a new vision for the Attorney General's office. And well, let me explain. If you look at what happens, legislators, by the very nature of their job, are trying to get some votes, and they can't say, we want to reduce the number of people in jails and prison. So who can? Did the jailers and wardens, did they have the opportunity? Unfortunately, the problem with county officials, jailers, is they have no control over the number of people who go into jails and prison. Who has control? Well, the courts send them there. Judges send them, but judges generally, in 95% of cases, take recommendations from prosecutors. So in my opinion, the prosecutors are the people who can control the courts. Now, please don't even slightly think that I'm down on prosecutors. I want to call these people the unexpected heroes. They're the heroes who can do something about this. Think of who prosecutors are. Prosecutors are capable, educated, people who work within a budget. They know what to do. They're in the system. They know that they can control, the number of people who go into diversion programs. Drug and alcohol programs are set up in some communities, but they're not. It isn't a statewide emphasis on it. This is the last emphasis. I don't know if you know, but DUI charges have the fines plus a DUI service fee. Well, where does that money go to? Does it go to help out alcoholics? It doesn't. It's not directed toward them. In jails, you have people who are forced into, who have high medical needs. 75% maybe of people are on medication in jails. We're dealing with the mentally handicapped. People who have mental problems. In the 50s, we put the direction from allowing people to go into mental institutions without much control over that to saying that they should be released. Well, where have they been released to? They've been released to the jails. And this creates a terrible situation that prosecutors are very aware of. Police are very aware of. These are my friends. These are people I work with every day. The jailers, the correctional officials, these are people who understand the problem. And there is a problem. But who can do something about it? Well, the county officials would love for someone to take that responsibility. And I'm going to tell you that the Attorney General, through the Prosecutors Advisory Council, has some control over this. They can set up the programs that are necessary. This is important for all of us. It costs money. And I can save money, or I believe that the Attorney General's office can save the taxpayers of this state money.
Does decriminalization work its way into this at any point?
I'm not even suggesting that at this point. I'm talking about an institution, the court system, the criminal justice system, that if you're asking me to change laws, first of all, I'd like the prosecutors collectively to decide which people deserve to get out of jails. And if they decide collectively in this Prosecutors Advisory Council or Commission that there is a need for revising the laws to, as you say, decriminalize, perhaps, but, I don't want to necessarily be soft on crimes. We're afraid in this life. We have a high-tech life that we hear about all these heinous crimes. In my opinion, it's not much worse than when I was a kid. In fact, I doubt that it's any worse. But, if it is worse, it has an additional factor of publicity. It has the media factor, it has the electronic contact with, reading about all and hearing about all these high-profile crimes that scare people. Well, I'm not in any sense trying to scare people. I'm trying to deal with a situation which has no hope of being dealt with unless the people who know something about this system can deal with it first. If the prosecutors collectively say that we ought to reduce sentencing, sure, I'm for that. If prosecutors say, no, we can't do that, well, then let's deal with what we can deal with. But it's important to emphasize that there's lots to be done. If,
It sounds all-encompassing.
well, it's a lot of things, but it's a lot of things that we see every day in court. It's the important, the cost. You send people, and unfortunately prosecutors and judges and all of us run into it. Typically there are a lot of people, and in fact maybe most people in jail who are not first-time offenders, maybe not second-time offenders, maybe third-time offenders. And it just seems so irritating for all the prosecutors and the judges and maybe even their lawyers, their defense lawyers, to try to deal with this situation. After a while, it seems like everyone wants to throw away the keys and put these people away for as long as possible. Well, all that does is back up the system. Today we have jails that are taking over the function of prisons. Unfortunately, it looks like it's backing up on the jailers. We have a Class D programs, where people can get out. On some circumstances, non-violent offenders can get out and do some kind of community service. But those programs are backing up the number of people that we have in jails. And it's just not working right now. It's not working. That those of us in the system see it's not working. Back in 2003, Governor Patton released, and they called it an early release program. He had to release, I think I counted 895 people from prisons. Well, why did he have to release them? Because we were running tight on the number of people we have in the prisons. And that scared people. Governor Fletcher now says he's put an end to that. Well, how did it get done? How did that reduction get done? Because we changed the law to allow people to get credit, parolees to get credit for time on the street if they didn't commit another felony. But those minor changes of the law don't really affect the whole system. And you're right, that's exactly it. It's an all-encompassing system that we've got to take a look at. And who can do this? Prosecutors are the one. That's the linchpin of the whole system. Now, if you look at me and say, I'm not a prosecutor, I'm a lawyer. My job in all cases